A 2023 survey from AARP found that 71% of women over 50 said the number one reason they lost physical attraction to a man had absolutely nothing to do with his age, his wrinkles, or his gray hair. It was something far more controllable, far more fixable, and honestly, far more embarrassing. And the worst part? Most men over 60 have no idea they're doing it. Today, I'm going to tell you, woman to woman, or rather, woman to the men brave enough to listen, exactly what those things are. And number 3 on this list? That one is going to sting a little. Stay with me. All right, let me be brutally honest with you for a second. I'm not here to coddle anyone. I'm not here to hand out participation trophies for showing up to a date with a pulse and a credit card. I'm here because there is a conversation women have behind closed doors, in group chats, over wine, at brunch, and sometimes even in parking lots after a bad date. And that conversation is about what physically turns us off about men, particularly men over 60. Now, before anyone clicks away feeling offended, hear me out. This is not an attack. This is a rescue mission. Because here's the thing, most relationship coaches won't tell you. Women over 50, over 60, even over 70 still care about physical attraction. A study published in the Journal of Sex Research in 2021 confirmed that physical attraction remains a significant factor in romantic satisfaction for adults well into their 70s and 80s. It doesn't disappear, it shifts, it evolves. But it absolutely does not vanish. And the reason I'm making this video is because the things that turn women off at this stage of life are almost never about aging itself. They're about neglect. They're about habits. They're about choices that a man makes every single morning when he looks in the mirror. Or worse, when he doesn't bother looking in the mirror at all. So, if you're a man over 60 watching this, or if you're a woman who's been dying to send something like this to a man you care about, bookmark this. Because what I'm about to share could genuinely change the way someone shows up in the dating world, in their marriage, or even just in their own confidence. And one more thing before we get into it. I've ranked these from most common to most secretly discussed. That last one, number 5, is the one women almost never say out loud but think about constantly. So make sure you stick around for that. Let's get into it. I know this sounds superficial. But let me frame it this way. When a woman over 50 or 60 meets a man, she is not expecting him to look like he walked off a magazine cover. She's not expecting six-pack abs or a full head of hair. What she is expecting, at a bare minimum, is that he cared enough to look in the mirror before leaving the house. And the number one grooming failure women mention, and I mean this comes up in every single conversation I've had researching this topic, is wild, unmanaged facial hair in places. Facial hair should not be growing freely. We're talking tufts coming out of the ears like small woodland creatures have taken up residence, nose hair that could be braided, eyebrows that have gone full caterpillar and are staging a hostile takeover of the forehead. Here's what makes this a turnoff at a psychological level. It signals neglect. According to Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist at Rutgers University, grooming behavior in humans is deeply tied to mate signaling. When someone grooms themselves, it sends an unconscious message that says, I value myself, and I value the people I'm presenting myself to. When someone doesn't groom, it sends the opposite message. I've given up, and no woman wants to start a relationship with someone who's already waving a white flag. The fix here is so simple, it's almost laughable. A $10 trimmer from any pharmacy, 2 minutes in front of a mirror. That's it. 2 minutes and $10 stand between a man and being eliminated from a woman's consideration before he even opens his mouth. Think about that. Now, this one is sneaky because most men don't even realize it's happening. But women notice posture the way men notice a woman's smile. It's one of the first things we register, and it speaks volumes before a single word is exchanged. A man who walks into a room with his shoulders slumped forward, his head hanging down, shuffling his feet like he's being marched to the principal's office, that man has already lost the room. And I don't mean that cruelly. I mean, that the body communicates faster than the mouth ever could. Research from the Department of Psychology at the University of British Columbia found that postural expansiveness, standing tall, shoulders back, head up, was rated as significantly more attractive across every age group studied. Not muscles, not height, posture. The way a man occupies space. And here's the thing that makes this particularly relevant for men over 60. As we age, there's a natural tendency toward kyphosis, that forward rounding of the upper back. But the men who actively work against that, who do even basic stretching or strength work, who consciously stand taller, those men look 10 years younger without changing a single other thing about their appearance. I once spoke with a woman in her early 60s who told me she went on 2 dates in the same week. One man was conventionally more handsome by traditional standards, better jawline, more hair, nicer clothes. But he sat hunched over his coffee like he was trying to hide from it. The second man was average-looking by any measure, but he sat upright, made direct eye contact, and moved with a quiet confidence that made her feel safe and interested. She went on 4 more dates with the second man. She never texted the first one back. That's the power of how you carry yourself. It's not about being big. It's about being present. All right, I told you this one would sting, and here's why. Because most men over 60 think they're dressing just fine. And by just fine, I mean they're wearing the same oversized polo shirts and shapeless khakis they bought during the Clinton administration, and genuinely believing nobody notices. Women notice. Now, let me be clear. Nobody is asking a 65-year-old man to dress like a 25-year-old Instagram influencer. That would be its own kind of disaster. What women are responding to is fit, the way clothing fits the body. A study from the Social Psychological and Personality Science Journal found that clothing that fits well increases perceived attractiveness by up to 20%, regardless of the brand, the price, or the style. 20%. That's a massive shift in perception based purely on whether your shirt actually touches your body at the right points or whether it hangs off you like a surrender flag. The most common offenders? Shirts that are 2 sizes too big, creating that boxy, shapeless silhouette. Pants that are either too long, bunching up at the ankles, or belted so high they're practically a chest accessory. And shoes. Oh, the shoes. There is a particular type of thick-soled, orthopedic-looking white sneaker that has become the unofficial uniform of men who have stopped trying, and women clock it immediately. The solution isn't expensive. It's intentional. One trip to a department store, one conversation with a salesperson, or, honestly, one phone call to a daughter, a niece, or a female friend who will lovingly tell you the truth. That's all it takes. Clothes that actually fit your current body, not the body you had in 1997, communicate that you're still engaged with life, and that is wildly attractive at any age. This is the one that women will politely dance around in public, but will absolutely destroy a man's chances in private. And I'm not talking about having perfectly straight Hollywood white teeth. I'm talking about basic oral maintenance, yellow stained teeth, visible plaque buildup, missing teeth that have never been addressed, and the big one, bad breath, chronic persistent room-clearing bad breath. According to a survey conducted by the dating app Match in 2022, bad breath was listed as the single most immediate physical deal breaker across all age groups, but it was especially emphasized by women over 50. More than body weight, more than baldness, more than wrinkles. Bad breath was #1 with a bullet. And here's why this hits differently after 60. Because at this age, a lot of men have started skipping regular dental appointments. They've let minor issues compound into major ones. Gum disease rates increase dramatically after 60. The CDC reports that over 68% of adults over 65 have some form of periodontal disease. And periodontal disease doesn't just affect the gums. It affects the way a person smells when they talk, when they laugh, when they lean in for what could have been a wonderful first kiss, but instead becomes a chemical warfare event. A woman I interviewed for research on this topic told me, and I'm quoting her directly, "He was charming, he was funny, He had great stories, and the moment he leaned across the table, I knew I'd never see him again. That's heartbreaking because everything else was working. The connection was real, and it was undone by something entirely preventable. Regular dental cleanings, a good electric toothbrush, a tongue scraper. Yes, a tongue scraper, because most chronic bad breath originates from bacteria on the tongue, not the teeth. These are small investments with enormous returns. A man who smells clean when he speaks is a man a woman will want to keep listening to. Here it is, the silent killer of attraction. The thing women think about constantly but rarely verbalize because it feels too specific, too small, too petty to mention. But it's not petty, it's primal. Women look at a man's hands. We look at them early, we look at them often, and we make judgments based on what we see. This isn't vanity. This is rooted in evolutionary psychology. Hands are associated with capability, with care, with intimacy. A man's hands will eventually touch a woman's face, hold her hand across a table, rest on her lower back. She is already imagining that contact, and what she sees on those hands matters more than most men would ever guess. Dirty, jagged fingernails, rough, cracked, uncared for skin, nails that are too long or clearly bitten down to nothing, cuticles that look like they've been through a paper shredder. These things register on a deep, almost subconscious level. A 2019 study from the University of Göttingen in Germany found that hand grooming was among the top 5 physical traits women evaluated when assessing a potential partner's attention to personal care. Not hand size, not grip strength. Grooming, the state of the nails, the skin, the cleanliness. And here's what makes this particularly important for men over 60. At this age, hands often tell a story. They show age more visibly than almost any other body part. But there is a massive difference between hands that show age and hands that show neglect. Age is natural. Neglect is a choice. A basic hand cream used once a day, trimmed, clean nails, maybe even a professional manicure. And no, there is nothing unmasculine about a man getting a manicure. In fact, women find it incredibly attractive when a man cares about details that most other men ignore completely. It signals awareness. It signals effort. And honestly, it signals that when those hands eventually reach for hers, the experience won't feel like shaking hands with a cactus. So, let's pull this all together. 5 physical turnoffs: neglected facial grooming, poor posture and physical presence, badly fitting clothes, poor dental hygiene, and uncared for hands. Not one of these has anything to do with being old. Not one of these requires surgery or money or genetic luck. Every single one is a choice. A daily, small, fixable choice. And that's what makes this topic so important. Because the men who understand this, the men who take 15 extra minutes in the morning to trim, to stand tall, to wear clothes that fit, to brush properly, to moisturize their hands, those men are playing an entirely different game. They're not competing with younger men. They're competing with the version of themselves that gave up. And the version that shows up with effort always wins. The truth is, women over 50 and 60 are not looking for perfection. They've lived long enough to know perfection doesn't exist. What they're looking for is someone who still cares. Someone who treats their own body with respect. Because if a man can't be bothered to take care of himself, a woman will naturally wonder, will he bother to take care of me? Now, everything I've shared today covers the physical side of attraction. But here's what most men completely miss. Physical attraction is only the door. What keeps a woman interested, what makes her stay, what makes her choose you over every other option she has, that's psychological. And if you truly want to understand what happens inside a woman's mind when she starts falling for a man, especially if there's a specific woman you're interested in right now, then you absolutely need to watch this next video. It breaks down the exact psychological triggers that make a woman feel deeply, almost irresistibly pulled toward one particular man. The title is right there on your screen. If you like a woman, you must watch this video. I'm not suggesting it. I'm telling you. If you've made it this far, that video is the missing piece. Click it now before you forget, because what you'll learn in that video could change everything about how she sees you.